Hello everybody, and let us continue for where we previously stopped. So what we did is basically we ran this command in the previous video and we created our Windows payload, or basically our Windows reverse shell. So what we want to do right now is, first of all, if you just want to deliver this to someone, there are two things you need to do. Basically set up a listener on the same port that you specified in the payload, and of course you need to have the same IP address as well. And what you want to do next is basically just deliver the payload any way you want, over email, over USB drive, over some link, or however you want to deliver it. But before we do that, let us see how we can actually craft a little bit better payload. Now, that will not be much better. The real antivirus bypass we will do in the next section, basically where we actually code our own tools and actually add the binary in order to prevent antiviruses from actually detecting our program. But since this is a well-known payload that everybody uses, it will be known to the antiviruses. So first of all, what you want to do is go to the Firefox, and there is a site, as I said in the previous video, which is called Antivirus or Virus Total or something like that, which basically allows you, let me just type in your Google search bar virus total, and it should be the first link that pops up, I believe. As I said, it is the website that allows us to upload our files, and it will print out a list of how many antivirus detect that file as a virus. But be careful, if you're creating a serious virus or a serious payload or something like that, make sure to not actually use this website, since every time you upload something to this website, it gets sent to the antivirus databases. So if you, for example, upload a virus that you created or coded, which gets detected by like 2% or 3% of antivirus, which is like really good, in a few days or weeks it actually will be detected by a lot more, since this website actually sends that value of that virus to the databases, and then they update it, and then every other antivirus software will actually start detecting your program as a virus as well, in case it is a virus, of course. So what you want to do right here, but first of all, since this payload that we created is just a simple reverse TCP Meterpreter shell, which is already uploaded on this website 1,000 times and hundreds of thousand times, we can safely upload it, since it will get detected by every antivirus anyway. So what we want to go is navigate to our root directory where we saved the file. So here it is, reverse.exe, size is 7.2 kilobytes, and we basically double click on this file, or we can click on open, and it will say confirm file upload, you have chosen the file named reverse.exe, do you want to continue? We click here on yes, and it will basically upload the file for us. It will scan it, and what it will do is it will print out all of the antivirus that detect and that do not detect this program as a virus. So we can see already a lot of them detected it, basically out of 65, 67, 70, 44 detected it already. Now all of these that actually didn't detect, so let me just reload this page so it can print out it well. So we can see the final result is 45 out of 75 antiviruses detected this as a virus. So if you scroll down to those who didn't really detect it as a virus, you will see that these are not some of the more known antiviruses. So these basically, I don't know if they even get updated. Some of these I have never even heard of. Most known antiviruses are up, and those are the ones that actually detected it, such as Bitdefender, Avast, which actually you need to know that the Bitdefender is probably the best antivirus that you can get for free. It detects a lot of viruses, and basically it will be really hard to bypass these antiviruses. I will show you later on. But for example, Avast, which is I believe one of the most used ones in the world, is actually not that hard to bypass. So what we want to do, so let us check out the result. So 45 out of 71. So what we want to do right now, first of all, we want to refresh this page, and let us see if we can lower that number even a little bit. So even 2 or 3 antiviruses will be good. I mean, it will not be good, but better something than nothing, right? So let us actually run the same command that we ran before and create a second payload. But before we do that, let us see our available, actually, let me just change my directory, our available encoders. So not payloads, we want to go to the encoders, and since we create a 64-bit version of the Meterpreter reverse TCP, we want to go to x64. And as I said, there are not many for this, so we can actually use this one, for example. So let us change to the root directory once again. And so we do not type the command entirely, let me just find it. Okay, so here it is. And what we want to specify is -e, and then I believe x64, and then the name of the encoder. I believe it is specified with -e, and then after that -i for the number of iterations it should actually pass. So we will just specify 5 iterations. I believe that is by default. Now, I hope this is the syntax. If it is not, we will have to run the help command in order to see what the correct syntax for this is. But let's see what this will do. Now, if this does work, skipping invalid encoder. So let me just see, maybe we do not need to specify the .ruby file. Let us see. Now, you know that the skipping invalid encoder. So let us see msf venom --help. And let us see for the encoder to use list encoder to list. So let us see msf venom -c, and I believe list or something like that. So attempting to read payload from standard input. We do not want that. Oh, list encoders to list, okay. So what we want to type is msf venom list encoders, so we can see our available encoder. Okay, so let us find the one that we want to use. Now it is this one, so I didn't need to specify the / at the beginning, so that's why it gave us an error. So let us run the same command once again, and let us rename this to reverse one, so it actually differentiates it from the previous one. And I believe this is the command right now. So it will use this encoder and it will run through 5 iterations, and you will notice that the file will be a little bit bigger than the previous reverse.exe file. So here we can see that it actually ran through 5 iterations. Now if you specified here more, it will run through more. Basically the more the better, but the more iterations you use, the file will be bigger. So we can see that the payload size is not anymore 510 bytes, it is right now 768 bytes. And we can see that if I type here ls, our reverse.1.exe is there. So we used encoder, and now let's see, let us see if it will get the same results as this file right here. So this first file, which is the simplest one, got 45 out of 71. So let us go back, just click on this icon right here, which will lead you to the welcome page once again. And what we want to do right here is basically choose file as in the previous file, and we want to select the reverse1.exe. If I click here open, it will ask us once again if I want to confirm, so I click here OK, and it will upload the file. And let's see how many antiviruses catch it now. Now it will still be a big number, but I believe it should be smaller than 45. Since this is an available encoder in Metasploit, and all the other peoples use it as well, so it is not that new of a process in order to create an undetectable payload. So let us see, from now on we can see 3 out of 3 antiviruses detected it. Not really sure why it goes this slow, it should go a little bit faster. Maybe it takes more time for antivirus to detect it, not really sure why. But this is really slow for now. So 5 out of 8 for now on. We know that there is around 70 or something like that, 71 I believe antiviruses that are in this website that actually scan the file that we upload. So let's hope for the better result than in the previous scan. So for now 18 out of 32 detected. As we can see, it is growing. It is still growing. But I believe that we will not go over 45. So this should be a better result than in the previous scan, which means that we were able to actually bypass some of the antiviruses in this website, which is good. So better something than nothing. For now it's 32. Let us see how much this will grow, so we can calculate the exact number of antiviruses that we were able to bypass. So 35 out of 62. Not really sure why this scan is taking so long, but there is one thing that you might have noticed. Let me just try to find it. Okay, never mind. I was trying to find the Avast antivirus. I thought we actually were able to bypass it with this simple encoder, but we were not able to, since it is still detecting it as an as a virus. So that's good for the Avast, but it's still not that good of an antivirus program. Now I both have on my PC I both have the Avast antivirus and the Bitdefender antivirus, because I wanted to test something. Basically the Bitdefender is a lot better than the Avast, in my opinion. Now you can use any you want, but as an experienced hacker you would probably not want to use any at all, since antivirus can only slow down your PC, and if you actually know what to click and what not to click, you really do not need it on your PC. For example, on my laptop I do not have antivirus at all. So let's see how long this will take. We can actually stop it right now. I believe there are like 4 antiviruses left, which basically leaves us, if all 4 detected, at 41 out of 70, which is 4 antiviruses better than the previous scan, which is something, right? So we were able to actually bypass some of the antiviruses. As we can see right now, only 38 detected out of 67. Now, last time we had 70 antiviruses, but sometimes it puts more, it puts less. What matters is that we were able to bypass some of them. But let's see if we can put this number even at smaller rate. So what we want to do, first of all, we want to use the same file that we were actually created, so the reverse1.txt, and we want to use a tool that is called Hex Edit. It opens it as a hex code, and what you can do is change the values of it. So we can just open it. Let me show you. Hex Edit, so Hex Editor, and then the name of the file, which in our case is reverse1.txt. And what you will see right here is basically our program in bytes. So be very careful. I mean, you do not need to be careful, since it takes like 2 seconds to create this payload. But if you change just 1 byte that you shouldn't change, your program will not work. Now, there are few things that we know that we can change, which are basically this right here, which is this program cannot be run in DOS mode. So we can change that value, since we know it is a string and it doesn't actually perform anything in a code. It is most likely a comment or something like that. Now, why are we changing that? Well, as I said, how antiviruses work is basically they have a huge database, and there they have the signature values of all the viruses. Now, if you just simply change, for example, just 1 byte, it will be different than the virus that they have in a database. So just changing and switching up a simple bytes in a whole program can make you bypass some of the antiviruses. So what you want to do is first navigate right here. You navigate with arrows, as you can see right here. And once you reach the bytes that actually correspond to this string, you can just type here anything, as we can see. Oops, I should have started in the upper line. As we can see, while I type here, which is changed to D8 or DD right now, it is changing the values of this string. So if I just go A, and then DD and then some random numbers, you will see that the values right here change. Oops, I accidentally typed W, which you cannot use in bytes. Basically, you can only use A, B, C, D, E, F, and numbers 1, 2 through 9 with 0. So let us just use some of the random ones, so just type right here. Make sure not to pass the last letter, since if you pass it, basically you will enter a different part of the code, which can actually make a program not run. Now, this is not the only thing that we can change in this program, but for now on it will be good. Now, once we code our own programs, I will show you what else you can change in order to bypass more antiviruses. But for now on, let's see if I save this, so file name reverse1.exe, and if I close this, so Ctrl O to save, Enter to select file name, and Ctrl X to exit, and now let's see once again. If I open it, you will see this string is no longer there. Now, let's try to upload it once again and see if we get even better result than the last time. So, what we want to go, so go right here once again, choose a file, and we go to reverse1.exe. Open it, since we use the reverse1.exe, since that is the file that we actually changed in the Hex Editor. So open it, it will ask us the standard questions. Do we want to upload it? We say yes. And right now it will analyze the virus once again. So last time I believe we got like 40 or 38. So let's see if we can get less than 38 right now. Now, what I did right here, where I changed that string, is also a well-known thing to do. So most of the hackers actually do that as well. So it is not that big of a thing in order to change the, in order to bypass some of the antiviruses, but it should be good enough to bypass at least some of them or a few of them. But looking like this, we might actually not bypass any, since it is already at 36. Yeah, we actually got more that detected it than in the previous scan. So that's a little bit weird, but it happens. So some antiviruses work weird, but some antiviruses don't work weird. Let us see just how many antiviruses will it scan. If it scans like 70, we might be able to actually bypass like one of them. Since last time it only scanned like 68 or 67 or something like that. But right now it already scanned 69 with 69 antiviruses, and 39 out of those 69 detected it, which is still a bad number, but we actually were able to lower it from the first scan. So those are just some of the simple things to do in order to bypass it. Let us just wait for this scan to finish. So 40 out of 70. That is not that bad. I mean, it is still bad, but if you remember the first one, it was 45 out of 70. So we were able to bypass 5 antiviruses. And that is good enough if the target is using one of those 5. So that will be about it for this tutorial of bypassing antiviruses. Now, the more advanced antivirus bypass we will do in the coding section. For now on, it is good to only know these simple things. It will get you only as far, but it is still better than nothing. And in the next video we will actually run this on our Windows 10 machine. We will run the payload that we created. So that will be it for this video, and I hope I see you in the next one. Bye! Hello everybody and welcome back. And now let us finally exploit our Windows 10 machine. So first of all, we created the payload with this command right here. We encoded it with this encoder right here on 5 iterations. We named it reverse1.exe. The L host that we specified, let me just close this, is our IP address, and the L port is 4444. So what we want to do right now is we want to deliver this payload to our victim. Now for the first time we will do that over USB drive, which is the easiest and most simple. Now for this attack to work, you will need to have physical access to the victim's computer. Later on I will show you how you can do that over email and how you can spoof fake emails and send to anyone you want with the payload itself. So first of all, what we want to do is plug in your USB drive into your PC. So just plug it in. Let me just, okay. So my USB drive is plugged in. but you will notice that it will detect it in your main PC. Now, in order for you to detect it on Kali Linux machine, what you want to do is go onto the devices right here. So click on the devices, go to the USB, and here you want to find your USB drive. So for me, this is Kingston Data Travel 3.1 or 3.0. And if you click on it, you will see, if you go once again right here, that now it is connected to your Kali Linux machine. So in order for you to actually use it, this should pop up, and you just click on Open with Files, and it will open your Kali Linux drive. Pardon me, your USB drive. And all you want to do from then is basically just copy your reverse1.exe or your payload, however you named it, to your USB drive, and simply just paste it into the USB. So my payload is in the root directory. So if I just type here, it's in the root directory. Let me just delete the other two. So reverse.exe we do not need, and shell.exe we do not need. So we only want to copy the reverse1.exe, which is our final payload. So let us do that by using the cp function in terminal, and then we specify the files, which is reverse1.exe, and where we want to go is media, root, and then just tab it to select your Kali Linux drive. Now, if you do not want to copy it like this, you can basically just go to the applications, or pardon me, to the places. Then you want to go to the computer, then basically just find your root directory. So let me just find it. Root directory, just click copy right here, and you can paste it right here. And that's how you can paste the file, or you can use this command right here. But not the same command. So basically what you want to do after this, so media root, just click here the tab button, and it will automatically select if you only have one USB drive plugged in, which you most likely do. So we will not run this since I already copied it. What we want to do right now is just click here on this arrow in order to unmount the USB drive. After that, let me just close all of this. And what I want to do right now is unplug it from my Kali Linux machine. So just click right here. And right now, it will be plugged in into my Windows 10 machine. So what I want to do is copy and paste this file on my desktop, or wherever you basically want. You'll need to provide administrator, okay? So we copy the file. Let me just see why doesn't it want to. Okay, so standard, first thing, so this will happen. So first thing that you want to do basically is, first of all, let me just delete this since this will not work. The reason why is, first of all, you need to disable two things. Since this is a well-known payload, you need to disable your antivirus if you have it. So for me, that is the Bitdefender. I will just click on it. So this is my antivirus. You open your antivirus, and what you want to do is basically just close the protection for it. So right now, I will be able to transfer my virus in order for it to not get deleted, since my device is at risk. Now, you do the same with your antivirus, and you also need to do the same with Bitdefender. Pardon me, with the Windows Defender. Now, I already had that turned off, so let me just repeat the process. I will do it real fast. So, cp reverse1.exe into media, root, and then Kali drive. So now I want to change my directory. As we can see, item was deleted since it detected it as a trojan.metasploit.a, as we can see right here. That's why I couldn't run the file or copy it to the desktop. But right now, if I go to my Kali Linux drive and I use let me just rename the file into shell.exe, so it isn't named reverse1.exe. And we need to do the same thing as previous time, so unmount the USB drive, so just uncheck it right here. And let's now try to copy the file once again. So now, as you can see, it works. So file is right here. We do not need this USB drive anymore, or we will just leave it, it doesn't really matter. And the next thing you want to do before you actually run this file is actually start up your listener. Now, let me change my directory to root and run msf console. So in listener, as I said, you want to use your lhost IP address and your lport that you specified in the payload itself. Now, one also thing to note is that you do not need to really deliver the USB drive, or pardon me, the payload within the USB drive. You can also download it over Apache 2, but I found this simple. You can just start Apache 2, then copy the payload into the /var/www/html folder, and just open up from Windows 10 machine your IP address on Google search bar and just click on the file to download it. That is another way to do it. But we will do it over USB drive now, since we already did it now. Once you open the MSF console, what you want to do is use exploit multi-handler, and what you want to do is set the payload that you used in the process of making payload with MSF1.0. Now we use Windows x64 Meterpreter reverse TCP, so we want to set the payload as well. So set payload Windows x64 Meterpreter reverse TCP. So the next thing, we want to show options and set our lhost. Now our lhost is .1.4, I believe. It has to be the same as in the payload specification, so set lhost 192.168.1.4. And right now, show options once again in order to double check it all. We have set the Windows x64 Meterpreter reverse TCP as payload. Our lport is the same as in the specification of our payload, and our lhost is our IP address. The only thing you want to do right now is type exploit. Now, in order to run exploit as a background process, if you want to, you can just type here exploit -j -z, and this will be the process of listening in background, so you will still be able to execute commands, so show options and all of that, instead of just waiting for the connection. Now, what you also, in order to close that process, you can just type here jobs, and it will say that the jobs currently running are the exploit multi-handler and listening on this address right here and on this port. So the only thing we need to do right now is actually open this file. Now, if you deliver this file over a USB drive, you can just double click it and it will open. But if you download file from the internet, or from basically Apache 2, or via email, or via anything else, it will ask for permission to run it, or not permission, it will ask, are you sure you want to run this file? Since it is a .exe file, it is an executable, and it will do for every executable you basically download over internet, it will ask, do you want to run it, since it is an executable file. But since we delivered it over USB, we can just double click it, and it will run for us. It will not ask anything else, and it will just open. But if I go right here to my Kali Linux machine, you will see that we got Meterpreter session 1 open on our local listening address to the Windows 10 machine, which is .1.3 on this port. So if I just click here enter, in order for you to enter this session, since we are doing this first time, what you want to type in your Metasploit is basically just sessions, and it will list you all of the sessions that you currently have. Now, we at the moment only have the session with our Windows 10 machine, since that is the only machine that we attacked at the moment. In order for you to enter that session, what you want to do, let me just clear this so you can see it better. You can see this ID number 1. So once you type sessions, it will print out all of the sessions, and you can see that the session ID is number 1. In order for you to enter it, just type here session -i and then 1. Oops, I think it's sessions -i and then 1. Okay, so we will just add s, so sessions -i and then 1. And we can see we successfully got our Meterpreter shell open. Now, this is for the first time, so what we want to do right now is basically just run the help command, since we do not know what we can run. And the help command would print out all of our available options for the Metasploit framework Meterpreter shell. So in order, for example, to check who we are, we can just type here get UID, and it will say that this is the user that we are currently. So we will notice that we are not really the administrator, which we will fix in the pox exploitation videos, where I will show you what else you can run, and how you can elevate privileges, how you can get passwords, how you can upload, download files, and what else you can do. But for now on, this will be good for example, if I just type here ifconfig, you will see that my IP address is 192.168.1.8 and it is also 192.168.1.3. Now you might be asking, how do I have two IP addresses? Well, that is because I have a wireless network interface and a cable interface on my Windows 10 machine. So I basically have two interfaces running and connected to the internet at the moment. One of them, as you can see, is the wireless network adapter, which is at .1.8, and the other one is simply over cable, which is .1.3. So this is the one. And you can also, for example, check some other commands such as arp, I believe, let me just see help, so we can see what else we can run. I believe you can check the arp tables and as well. So you just type here arp, yeah. There are a bunch of the other commands and a bunch of the other modules that we will also start running in the next video. But for now on, we just wanted to get the session opened, and I will continue showing you what you can do in the next video. So hope I see you there, and take care. Bye. Hello everybody, and welcome back, and let us continue with our Meterpreter session. So in the previous video, we were able to deliver the payload to the victim PC, which is my Windows 10 PC, and we were also able to run that and connect back to our PC. So right now we have Meterpreter session opened. Now let us see what we can do with some of the basic commands that we can get from the help command. Later on we will run some modules, but for now on let us just see what we have currently. So just type here help, and let us see what does it offer us. So let us start from the beginning. So here it is. We can background the session. Now this is also an important command. For example, there are two commands. One of them will exit you out of this session, you will not be able to connect back, and one of them will just put the session in the background. Now if you type here exit, this will exit the Meterpreter session and you will not be able to connect back to the victim PC. But if you just type here background, it will prompt you with your Metasploit command line once again, and it will not close the session. As we can see, it will only put it in background. So if I clear the screen and just type here sessions once again, you will see that we still have the session open, and whenever we want we can just go sessions -i and then the ID of the session, which is 1, and then we enter the Meterpreter once again. So that is also something that you should know. Let us see what else does it give us that is useful. So for example, let me just see right here, there is the command terminate the Meterpreter session, which is exit. Get the session ID, machine ID, you can just run that, migrate, pivot. Now basically machine ID, if you just type it right here, so machine_ID, is basically nothing really useful to us, but there is an option for some reason for that. This is basically session, so we saw how we can run that, run use. So these are commands that are not really for the Meterpreter itself. These are basically some of the Metasploit commands. What we are mostly interested in are these commands right here. So as we can see, this is basically the same commands almost as in Linux. So we can navigate through the victim PC with these commands. We can upload files, we can download files, we can copy the files, we can run other files, we can also, for example, run a notepad from our Meterpreter shell. Not really something useful, but it is something we can do. We can list working directory, we can change directory, so let's do some of that. So dir, if you just type here dir, which is the command for the Windows command prompt, in order to list all of the files in the current directory, we will see the files from my desktop. Since if I type here pwd, I'm currently in my desktop folder, since my file that we ran is on my desktop. And if I list all of the files, I will see these files right here. As we can see, these are the same files. Now, dir command, you can use that one, or you can use ls. Now, it is the same. One of them is for the Windows, as a Windows command, so dir is used in command prompt in Windows, and ls is used in the Linux. The Meterpreter session gives us both options to use. Now, you can change directory, so as I showed you, if I type pwd, I'm currently in my desktop directory, and if I go one directory back, you will see that I'm not really anymore in the desktop directory. If I type here dir once again, you will see other files right here. So what we want to do is basically cd back to our desktop, pwd, and ls. So we have these files right here. Now, if I wanted to, I could, for example, download any of these files with the download command. So let's see if there is anything we can do. Well, there really isn't, but what we can do is make directories. So mkdir, and if I show you the desktop first of all, you will see that there is no test directory right here. But if I just type here mkdir creating directory test, and if I go right down here, you will see that now we successfully created a folder called test. And now if we want to, we can change our directory to that folder, pwd, and we can see that we are now in the test directory. So we can also create folders, download folders, create files, and so on and so on. If you wanted to, you could also cat a file, which is useful. For example, if a victim has some file where it stores some information or something like that, you can cat it and read the content of that file. But let us see what else we can do instead of actually navigating through the system, since that is what we already know. Or basically, if you just do not know, you can just read all of these commands. So cd, change directory, cp, and upload, download, which is a useful command. So upload a file or directory. You will need to specify which file or directory you want to upload, and download, you will need to specify which download directory you want to download. So let's see lower what we have right here, which are the networking commands. So what we want to do, we can actually change the, or not change, we can actually check the ipconfig, netstat. So basically anything that we ran in our terminal in our Linux, we can also check in Windows. So let us see. If I just type here ifconfig, as I showed you before, it will give us our IP address. Now, both in the Meterpreter, both commands ifconfig and ipconfig will work. So if I just type here ipconfig, it will print out the same output. Basically, it is the same as with the dir and ls commands. So they support, the Meterpreter shell supports both Linux and Windows terms. If you just type here arp, it will print out the arp cache. And if you just type here netstat, for example, -nr, it will give us the netstat connections and all the processes running. So let me just see right here. As we can see, all the established connections, which there is a lot of them, and here is our file. So this is established connection to us, as we can see right here, our Windows 10 machine connected to the 192.168.1.4 on port 4444, which is our Kali Linux machine. So if I just type here help, in order to see some of the other commands, so we check these ones, we check these ones, we check these ones. So basically you can check all the other networking commands as well. As we can see, route, view, and modify the routing table, which could be interesting. Port forward the local port to a remote servers, which you can use in order to create basically a port forwarding rule on the Windows 10 machine, which basically could allow you to connect more easily next time. But we will not be needing that at the moment. What we want to do is basically check out the lower options as well. So here, as we can see, the shutdown reboot command, which will restart the victim PC. The shutdown command will shut down the victim PC. Now, I will not be running any of those two commands, since if I shut down my Windows 10 PC, I also shut down the recording and my Kali Linux machine, which would make zero sense. So really no point in doing that. I will show you those commands once we attack the Windows 7 with Eternal Blue. But for now on, let us see some of the other commands. So let's, for example, check out the ps, which is the command to list all the running processes, which could be useful. So we can just type here ps, and it will give us all of the processes currently running in the machine. So in the Windows 10 machine, let me just zoom out a little bit so it gets a better printout. So we can see our process is right here. So here it is, pardon me, not the NVIDIA container, this one. So this is the process of our shell. Now, for example, if our victim notices something fishy, they can actually find out the process and they can close the process with Task Manager. So for example, if they just open Task Manager and see that they ran a file called shell.exe, they will most likely try to close it, which really they cannot do while the process is running. Let me just show you. If I just lower this and lower the Task Manager, if I click right here and click on the delete button, you will see the action can't be completed because the file is open in shell.exe. Now, most of the people that are not interested in technology and that don't know much about computers won't really know how to close this, but those who have a little bit of knowledge can just go to the task manager and just find the shell.exe. Here it is, right click and then end task, but we will not do it yet. So I will show you in the next videos how you can actually, let me just make this larger, how you can actually create persistent and copy the file itself into a new directory in order for you to have a full-time access to this PC. So every time it boots up, every time it connects to the internet, you will get a connection back. So that is one of the most useful things that we will also show right here. But for now on, let us see what else we can run. So help command, we go right here. There are a bunch of these other options that you can use if you want to. You can check what they do, such as, for example, clear event log. Now we need to have administrative privileges for this, which I will also show you how you can get administrative privileges on any Windows machine. You can drop token, execute a command, get environment. So also you can, could be useful, enter it to shell. So basically once you type here shell, it will basically just open up a command prompt for the victim PC. As we can see now, it is the same as if we were to run the command prompt. It looks exactly the same. The output of the command is the same. Basically not really much use of this, but if you simply find it easier to use a command prompt than the Meterpreter shell, you can do that as well. In order to exit the shell, you just type here exit. This will only exit the shell itself. It will not exit the Meterpreter shell. So don't type here exit twice or you will be exiting the Meterpreter shell. So let's see what else we can do. There are a bunch of these options for the, let me just find it right here. You can terminate the processes, you can filter processes by name, so basically you can run anything you want. Now the user interface commands, which are down here, we will cover in the next video, such as, for example, recording microphone, screenshotting, starting a keylogger, and these other commands that could be actually very interesting to us. So I will see you in the part 2 of this tutorial where we cover the basic Meterpreter commands. So I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope I see you in the next one. Bye! Hello everybody and welcome back, and now let us check the part 2 of the commands that we can run with Meterpreter shell. So let me just start up my exploit once again. So my listener, JZ, then I execute the program, and we get the Meterpreter session opened. So sessions, this is all standard. We already covered how to enter the session, so here we are in the Meterpreter session. Now, there are a few commands that we can use in order to interact with the system itself. So, for example, this command is very useful if you're, for example, attacking a lower or an older Windows system. What this does is, as it says right here, attempts to elevate your privileges to that of local system. Now, system privileges on Windows are the same as root privileges on Linux. What that means basically is that once you actually get the system privileges, you can say that you fully exploited the machine. As a user, your commands and your basically usage of all the other programs is limited. So in order to do that, you just type here get system. But since this is a Windows 10 machine, the privilege escalation won't really work here. Now there is another way to do the privilege escalation, which I will show you just in a second after we cover these other commands. So there are some of the commands, such as play audio file on a target system, nothing written on disk, which is not really that important to us at the moment. What is important for us is, for example, the key logger. If you just type here the command keyscan _start, so let us just do that, keyscan _start, it will say right here starting the keystroke sniffer, and it will record all of the keystrokes that the target enters in its machine or in its keyboard. So for example, let me just open Notepad right here, and if I just start typing anything in the Notepad, for example hello world and something like that, it will get written to our keylogger. So in order for us to print out what the target has typed in its keyboard, we can just type here keyscan _ dump. And it, as you can see right here, this is the notepad which I typed in the search bar. So it captured that, and it also captured the hello world, as we can see right here. This shift is referring to the capital letter. That's why it starts right here. So this is useful, for example, if you wanted to capture the passwords once the user logs into any website, unlike the man in the middle attack where you can only target HTTP websites and some HTTPS websites. This will work on any website or basically anything that the target types, since this is a keylogger installed on their local machine. This will capture even if they type it on Facebook or even if they type messages on Messenger, so you can just capture anything basically with this. In order for you to stop the keylogger, once you actually want to end it, you can just type here keyscan _ stop, and this will stop the keystroke sniffer. So once you type the keyscan dump, it will no longer print the output of the target's keyboard usage. So basically, if you want to, what I usually do is I always at the start turn on the keyscan, so I can capture everything that the target types, and then at the end, when I want to exit the session, I just basically dump the keystrokes and close the keylogger. So that is a really useful thing to have. It is installed in Meterpreter, so you can just type it with one simple command and the keylogger will start. Now I would show you these commands as well, such as webcam, chat, webcam, snap, but my Windows machine doesn't really have webcam, so I won't be able to do that. What I can show you is, for example, this screenshot right here. This will grab a screenshot of the interactive desktop, which can be also useful. So let me just lower this so you can see. If I just type here in the terminal or in the Meterpreter terminal screenshot, you will see that it will say screenshot saved to root and then some random name.jpg. Now the screenshot will basically be this screen that you are watching right now, so let us check it out. If we go right here and we lower this screen, we know that it is saved in root, so we go to places and then computer. Okay, so we go down, scroll to the root, and right here, and we can see the screenshot really did save right here. So this is also a useful thing to have. Now since we don't need it, I will delete it now. Let me open it in terminal. So open in terminal and remove this. Okay, good. Now let's see if there is anything potentially interested to us as well. So for example, yeah, some of these commands you actually need administrative privileges to run. For example, the clear the event log, you would need to actually have the system privileges in order to perform that. So let us actually see how we can get the system privileges on the Windows 10 machine. Now, first of all, in the Windows XP, for example, and maybe Windows 7, I'm not really sure about that. I'm not really sure about Windows 7. The get system command will work on Windows XP for sure. So just typing this command, you will be able to get the system privileges. But as we can see, that doesn't really work for us. So what we want to do is background this session right here. And the next thing you want to do is basically just search for the bypass module. So the bypass module, you just type here search bypass UAC, and UAC is basically user account control, and you will see these a few different modules that are used in order to bypass the user account control, which will give us hopefully the system privileges on the target machine. Now if you use the simple one, which is the first one, so you use this one, let us use it. So use exploit Windows local bypass, and we show our options on it. You will see that it doesn't really work on Windows 10, as if I set here, or let me show targets first so we can see the available targets. It says right here that it both works on Windows 32-bit and both on Windows 64-bit, but it really doesn't. So let's see if we specify right here the session, which is the only thing that it actually asks from us. So we check the session ID with sessions command. we can see that our session ID is 2, and we set session to 2. And now if we show options once again, we can see that everything is correct, and if I just type here exploit, this won't really work since our target or Windows 10 isn't really vulnerable to this attack. As we can see, exploit aborted due to failure, not vulnerable. Windows 10 is not vulnerable. So what else can we do? If we search bypass once again, so let me just find the command, so here it is, this one will work. I've checked all of these, and the one that works the most, basically this one also works sometimes, but sometimes it just decides not to work. This one works in most of the cases, so exploit Windows local and then bypass _ fault helper, Windows UX protection bypass. So it came out in 2017 and it is ranked as excellent. So if you just copy this and paste it right here, and we can see that basically I believe it is the same options as in the previous one, so only thing we need to set is the session. So we set the session to 2, since that is the session that we are running on our target Windows 10 machine. And after that you just click here exploit. Now the only thing that will happen with this is I believe a PowerShell window will pop up for a brief second, and then it should close. Once it closes, it will open a system Meterpreter shell. As we can see, sometimes this happens as well, so it basically just says exploit completed but no session was created. So what you want to do when it actually completes the exploit, but the session isn't really created and you didn't get the Meterpreter shell, you want to run this command until you actually get it. So from a few times you will be able to get the Meterpreter shell. So we run this a second time, and as we can see, we were able to receive the Meterpreter shell. There are some of the things that it did, so as we can see, started reverse TCP handler, UX is enabled, checking level, part of administration group, continuing, and it basically gives us Meterpreter shell. So if we background this right now, and I clear our screen a little bit and show my available sessions, you will see that right now we have 2 sessions available. The 2 is the one that we ran with our shell.exe file right here. Let me just close this hello world since we don't need it. This is the session number ID 2, and the session number ID 3 is the one that we got with the bypass fault helper, which we used in order to elevate our privileges. But if you notice right here, we are still not the administrator or the system privilege account on that target PC. We are still this account right here. So what you want to do is enter the 3rd session, which is the one that we got with the bypass, and right now if you just type here get system, the command will simply work, since we were able to bypass the user account control or the UAC. As we can see right here, if I just type here get UID, which will print out who am I, it will say I am authority or system, which is the highest level of privileges you can have on Windows PC. And by this, it means that we fully and successfully exploited the Windows 10 machine. Right now, you can do anything you want to it. You can change even important files, you can crash Windows, you can download, upload. You can basically do anything, as well as with the root privileges in Linux. So if I background and now type here sessions once again, you will see that one of them is simple user account and the other one is system authority. So in the next video, I will show you how actually you can, if you're running Windows 10 machine, for example, if that's your main host, how you can prevent yourself from this attack. You can prevent anyone from actually bypassing this with fault helper and actually gaining the system privileges to your PC. So that would be about it for this tutorial of privilege escalation and some of the basic commands in Meterpreter, and I hope I see you in the next one, and take care. Bye. Hello everybody and welcome back, and let's see what the security measure would be for anyone to not be able to bypass the user account control on Windows 10 host. So in the previous video we saw that we are able to bypass and gain the system administrator account on the Windows 10 host. But let me just show you once again. So if I just sessions and then enter session ID number 2, and whoops, I've once again forgot the session, so it is the session S -I, and then I exit both of them, and then I also enter the third one and exit that one as well. So if I just type here sessions, we do not have any connections anymore, which is good. So what we want to do is basically repeat the process of exploit. So I will do this real fast. I will not explain what I'm doing since I explained in the previous videos. So use exploit multi-handler show options. Everything is already preset, and I exploit -j -z, and I run this right here. But before I actually run this, I want to set a certain settings in the Windows that enables us to actually ask for the administrator password for all the important programs that you open on Windows. For example, if you were to open Task Manager right now, it will not ask for any administrator password or anything like that. It will basically just open it, and this is the most case in most Windows 10 machines, since they do not have user account control in always notify when some application tries to run a certain program. But if you go to the search bar right here and type UAC, which will lead you to the control panel, change user account control settings, and you click on it, you will get this little window which will give you 4 different options when to notify you when apps try to make changes to computer, which will notify you, for example, once you open the registry keys, the task manager, basically any important application. So as you can see, by default on Windows 10 hosts, it is set to don't notify me when I make changes to Windows settings. So this will be set by default on most Windows 10 PCs. In order to bypass, in order to actually secure yourself from the bypass mechanism that we did in the previous video, you want to set this to always notify. As we can see right here, it says always notify me when apps try to install software or make changes to my computer, or always notify me when I make changes to Windows settings. So this will also prompt us for the administrator password once we, for example, open Task Manager. So just click here OK. Enter your administrator password, and if I just type your Task Manager once again, you will see that right now it will ask me, do I want to allow this app to make changes to the device? And I click here yes, and then it opens the Task Manager. Now you might be asking, so what does Task Manager have anything to do with this? Well, basically the Task Manager doesn't have anything to do with this, but the always notify me option in the user account control prevents the system privileges bypass in the Kali Linux FOD helper module, or basically any other module that you have for bypass in Windows 10. So if I show you right here, let me just see if we have any sessions connected. So we do not have any sessions connected. Let us double click this. We open the Meterpreter session 4 and we enter the session. So get user ID, we can see that we are just a simple user, we are not the system privilege admin. So what we want to do right now is use exploit bypass, I believe, or Windows bypass. Not really sure, let me just search bypass, not really sure if it is a module or an exploit. Search bypass and let us try to find the same bypass module that we used. So you just do it like this, search bypass FOD helper, or it is not FOD helper, let me just find it right here, zoom out a little bit, and let us see where our bypass FOD helper is. Okay, so here it is. It was under local, I forgot to specify this, so it is underscore helper, so we copy this right here, and then we zoom in so you can see it a little bit better, then use, and we paste the name of the exploit, which is the same as in the previous video. And now if I clear the screen and just type here show options, everything is already set. We just need to change the session ID, since if I type here sessions, you will see that right now the current session open is under ID 4. So we set session under 4, and we can try to exploit it right now. As you can see, the previous video it worked, but right now it will not work. As it says, exploit aborted due to failure, not vulnerable. UAC is set to always notify me. This module does not bypass this setting, exiting. And that's how you prevent the privilege escalation on your Windows 10 PC. Now, it might be sometimes annoying when you need to open Task Manager every time and click do you want to allow this application to make changes, but it can be useful once you do not want anyone to gain system privilege escalation on your PC. So, that would be about it for preventing the privilege escalation on Windows 10. What we will do in the next video is cover some of the post-exploitation modules that you can use on the target. So that's about it for this video. I hope I see you in the next one, and take care. Bye.